This passage says that political ideologies are not dominant anymore. People do not identify with political ideologies anymore. They are now under the influence of consumerism. Consumerism has taken over. It has replaced identification with political ideology. Let's summarize the passage and then answer questions. In a post-modern globalized world in which completing utopian meta-narratives from both sides of the political spectrum have been exposed as failures, society is no longer constructed or ordered through political ideology. We are living in a post-modern globalized world. In this, all the meta narratives, all these big ideologies of the political spectrum have been shown as failures. And society is now not structured along the lines of common political ideology. You won't have Democrats, socialists. You're not going to have communist, capitalists. Society is now not structured along political ideologies. The phenomenon has spread globally to nearly every modern city. The modern cities, you don't find people identifying with political ideologies like before. Individuals no longer subscribe to the exposed meta narratives like liberalism or communalism. They don't identify with these ideologies like liberalism or communism. They are instead consumed by consumerism. Which ism is dominating our lives? Consumerism. Hyper saturated by the media means media has taken it to that extent that it's not saturated. Saturated means fully soaked, but this is over soaked, hyper saturated by the media that promotes consumerism. Individuals are also increasingly distracted, tempted by advertisements, news, and entertainment to no longer be concerned with how their beliefs and values measure up to any meaningful understanding of political ideology. So, what has happened to individuals? We are totally tempted by advertisements, news, and entertainment. We are distracted. We are tempted by the media, which keep showing advertisements and entertainment. We are so totally distracted by it. We have no time or no intention. We are not bothered with how our beliefs and values measure with any particular political ideology. That's what means connecting or identifying. You think of your beliefs and values and you say, I believe that there should be equality, that the state should own means of production, the state, there should be, people, free enterprise should not be given a free hand, poverty should not be there. So all people have to use the resources of the country equally. More socialistic tendencies. So I'll go with that. On the other hand, you'll say, we born with certain potential, we have every right to develop it as much as we want. If you believe in that, you will go more towards a capitalist ideology, a more liberalism. But here we don't have time. The only thing is ads. What do I want to buy? What do I want to see? So you're tempted and distracted by consumerism. That's what he says. Next para. Deprived of a common political truth, the individual looks elsewhere for narratives to formulate a sense of identity. We don't have a political ideology. We don't have a political identity, but our nature is such that we look for something. I have to define my identity by something. So I start looking for that something which will define me. Advertisements are quick to fill the void. So when I don't have politics, which one fills the void to help me get some sort of identify myself with something? Advertisements fill this void created by lack of political ideology. Advertisements are quick to fill the void. Advertisement campaigns exploit the individual for profit by selling goods, not for their actual utilitarian values, but as a meaning of as a symbol of something more. So what does this advertisement do? It sells things. Correct? Any advertisement does that. But according to the author, he's saying they exploit the individual for profit by selling goods. These goods that advertisements sell are not for the utilitarian value. I'm going to use this. No, it's not for the utilitarian value. It is if objects are sold for as a symbol of something more. What are the ads selling? Ads are not selling a product for its utilitarian value that you're going to use. It's going to use a product as a symbol, and the symbol is something more than what the product is, what its utilitarian value is. That's what he's saying. This scenario is unfolding particularly in modern China, that people are buying things not for the utilitarian value but as a symbol of something more. This phenomenon is unfolding in modern China. Now let's see what's happening in modern China. Take the automobile manufacturer Jeep as an example. Jeep prides itself as producing vehicles that are well utilized as an off-road vehicle. That's what a Jeep vehicle is. Going to the website, you'll see pictures of Jeeps plowing through snow in the mountains. The vehicle sells reasonably well in the US, right? Because it's an all-terrain vehicle and it can be used as an off-road vehicle. So when you see the website, you will see it plowing through snows in the mountain. The vehicle sells reasonably well in the US. In China, however, Jeep sells more articles. Hang on. More articles of clothing than it does vehicles. Jeep, vehicle, brand of vehicle, but in China, what is Jeep selling? It manages to sell more clothes than it does vehicles. How? Gear is so popular that there are more than 1,500 licensed clothing outlets in the country compared to only 160 auto dealers for Jeep. How is Jeep able to reinvent itself as a clothing store? It's a vehicle manufacturer. We associate it with automobiles. We associate it with this all-terrain vehicle. Yet in China, its brand of clothing, gear, is selling way more than the vehicle itself. And how did it rebrand itself as a clothing store? Through selling its image, the narrative that is created through media advertisements like those seen on Jeep's website. Jeep is able to market any object that they can put their brand on. Any object. They put the brand Jeep on it, they can sell it. When asked about the company in China, customers' responses are telling. Telling means revealing. What do they reveal? A Jeep driver is one who doesn't give up when faced with adversity. Says Ding Qi, a Shanghai businessman who bought his wife a Jeep Grand Cherokee in 2004. Buying a Jeep is more than purchasing an automobile. It's about buying what Baudrillard calls a linguistic sign. When you're buying a Jeep, you're not just buying a vehicle. You are buying what is called a linguistic sign, a symbol. In King's case, a Jeep driver is someone who doesn't give up when faced with adversity. So it's a symbol of somebody who doesn't give up in the face of adversity. Following up on his impression of ruggedness, Key goes on to say, that's the impression I get because we've had to deal with floods, landslides closing off roads, and other obstacles. But the club members always pull together. Now, what did he mean by not giving up in the form of? He said we had floods, we had landslides, we had all kinds of natural disasters, but the club members pulled through. Club members? What club members? Let's read in the next paragraph. The second part of his statement, that club members always pull together, is perhaps the most interesting element of King's answer. In China, owning a particular brand like Harley Davidson, for example, is reason to have a weekly social function. So in China, when you own a Harley Davidson, for example, there's a weekly social function. That's a reason for attending a weekly social function. In one reported examples, the individuals in a Harley Davidson club did not actually use the Harley Davidson motorcycles that they purchased. They purchased a Harley Davidson, this huge motorcycle, very expensive. They bought it, but they didn't buy it to ride it. They didn't use it. What did they do? Instead, owners towed their Harleys to social functions, took pictures with other club members standing next to their similarly towed motorcycles. So all these club members, each one has a Harley Davidson motorcycle. That's how they formed the club. And in that, what did they do? They towed their Harley Davidson motorcycle. They didn't even ride it, and they took pictures with it. All right, what does that mean? The example is almost too perfect. Jeeps and Harleys are not being utilized for their designed purpose. You have a vehicle, you have an all-terrain vehicle, you have a powerful and fast motorcycle. They're not being used for their designed purposes, but instead they are being utilized as something more. What are they being utilized as? A sign function, a symbol. Okay, and what is that? Individuals are buying things they don't use and arguably they don't need. But because they are able to then share some limited form of commonality with others. So, why are you buying things? You're buying things as a sign function so that you can, in some ways, show some form of commonality with others, share something with others. That's what the author says. Which one of the following, if true, would weaken the author's claims in the passage? People have rejected ideologies in favor of consumerism. The author says that they don't identify with political ideologies anymore. Instead, they are consumed by consumerism. So, this will not weaken, this will support. This is in line with what the author is saying. Advertisements try to give people a sense of identity. He says when people don't uh, no longer have a common political identity, then what do? They look for something by which to define their identity. And this gap, by the lack of political identity, is filled by advertisements. So, advertisements try to give people a sense of identity, or people try to find a sense of identity through advertisements. So, B is also in line with what the author is saying, not weakening his argument. The Chinese buy Harley motorcycles because of their superior performance. Has the author said that? Well, some may be buying it. We don't know. But what did the author give the Harley Davidson example for? He gives the example of people, club members, right? So what is he talking of Harley Davidson? Why do they buy? So that they can tow it to the club and take pictures with it. So it definitely doesn't doesn't go in line with author saying. So if this is true, that people, according to the author, people buy Harley Davidson motorcycles because as a sign of function, as a symbol, and they take selfies with it. They don't use it for their design purpose. This will weaken if it is true that Chinese buy Harley Davidson because Harley Davidson is a good bike, its performance is fantastic, then it will weaken the author's claim. Therefore, C is my answer. Individuals no longer buy products for the utility value. Author said that we buy products not for the utilitarian function, not for the utilitarian value, but for something more, right? So it again aligns with what the author is saying. So which one weakens the author's claims? Option C. The author's claim is people buy Harley Davidson as a symbol, as a sign of social prestige, or to be part of the club of people who own Harley Davidson. But author says no. If this is true that they buy it to because of its superior performance, it weakens the author's claim. So remember, here in weaken questions, you have to assume that the option that is given is true. In strengthen questions, if true, if C is true, then it will weaken the author's claims.